Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Chairman Senate Sayyid Yusuf Azhar Gilani, Speaker of the National Assembly Sardar Ayaz Sadiq, Prime Minister Muhammad Shahbaz Sharif, Honorable Members of the Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu Alaikum. It is my singular privilege as your twice elected President to address the August House for the 9th time at the beginning of a new parliamentary year. Each such address is a reminder of continuity of our democratic system and of the responsibility we carry as representatives of people of Pakistan. Nations are tested only in times of crisis, but a key crossroad. The past year has reminded us that the strength of our republic lies in its constitution, in the resilience of our people, the responsibilities of parliament and government, and courage of our armed forces. As we begin a new parliamentary year, we must build upon the resilience, safeguarding sovereignty, strengthening constitutional governance, and advancing economic transformation so that the stability of because growth and generate prosperity, progress, and peace for every citizen. As we gather here today, we stand on the foundation laid by those who shaped our national journey. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah envisioned a democratic state rooted in the constitutionalism and rule of law. Sheikh Zulfikar Ali Bhutto gave this nation in its unanimous constitution. Sheikh Mohammad Benazir Bhutto strengthened democracy, process through sacrifices and exemplary leadership. My own belief in the parliamentary authority does not lie in words alone, but in action that builds our legacy. The last time I was president, I unilaterally returned the powers given to the presidency back to the House of Parliament as envisioned in the 1973 Constitution. Through historic 18th Amendment, today the presidency stands as symbol of unity, of federation, a bridge between federating units and a guardian of constitutional laws, and binds us all. Honorable members, the past 10 months tested our nation in profound and complex ways. When our sovereignty was challenged on either front, Pakistan responded with strategic restraint and firm resolve. When confronted with unprovoked attacks on both our borders, one after the other, our armed forces acted with outstanding professionalism and discipline. In the case of Marka-e-Haq, they turned India's attack on our motherland into landmark strategic victory. On the western border, when the Taliban regime ramped up a long line of attacks, the night of 26th February, our security forces acted decisively to signal zero tolerance for any incursions or sovereign territory. The political leadership stood united. The people stood resolute. At the outset, I want to express my nation's undying gratitude to the heroic defenders of our borders. It is because of the vigilance, bravery, and service that we are sitting here secure in our workplace and homes. In both successive military encounters, whether short or long, the sacrifices of our army, our forces, navy, railways, frontier corps, police services, and intelligence agencies will never be reduced to numbers. We only see their action on the media with pride. We don't really see the blood and sweat and tears that go into their training and hardship and service. Each operation reflects planning, discipline, and restraint. Each martyr represents a family that has gone ultimate service for Pakistan's stability. When I visit the families, I feel the same pain that I felt when I lost my wife, Shaheed Mohtamma Banerjee, who was martyred by terrorists in the prime of her life. I therefore remind you all that as state we must continue to support the families with dignity and honor. 2025 marked a turning point for Pakistan, defined by the resounding military victories in Markai Haq, which decisively repelled external aggression and shattered the myth of regional conventional security. Nobody in South Asia will be free and safe until the Kashmiris win their freedom from Indian occupation. Today, trapped in the strategic short-sightedness, India's leaders said they are preparing for another war. As a lifelong advocate of regional peace, I would not recommend it. At the same time, I would also say that any aggressor should prepare for another humiliating defeat. Make no mistakes, we are ready for you. My message to them is move away from war theatre to meaningful negotiation tables, because that is the only path to the regional security. And is a responsible nuclear state. We understand the weight of that responsibility. At the same time, we are a state that defends itself decisively when required. Our conduct reflects maturity, confidence, clarity of purpose. In 2025, we acted when necessary and exercised restraint once objectives were achieved. The message was understood clearly within the region and beyond. In 2026, last week, in fact, when India began to amplify the proxy operations via Afghanistan, the Taliban regime saw with shock and awe what Pakistan can do if pushed past the red line. Until that week, we had tried every possible form of diplomacy to prevent an outbreak of military response to terrorist incursions in Afghanistan, for as war as always the last option to state accepts a strike attack on its soil. Article 51 of the UN Charter gives us the right to defend our sovereignty. We let both India and Afghanistan see a fraction of our capabilities. Over the last 3 years, our armed forces and law enforcement agencies have undertaken determined intelligence-based operations against Indian-sponsored foreign terrorists. This is not a counter-terrorism campaign, the military is fighting alone. The entire nation stands united with its armed forces against cross-border terrorism. Spelled out the limits of our tolerance for attacks from Afghanistan, particularly Indian-sponsored TTP and BLA and affiliates. Let me be clear, the soil of Pakistan is sacred. We will not allow any entity, domestic or foreign, to use neighboring territory to destabilize our peace. The recent report from the United Nations Security Council monitoring team has described presence of terrorist groups in Afghanistan as an extra regional threat. This report warns that any other country could fall victim to another catastrophic attack if the issues are ignored. However, it is a sad fact that despite multiple diplomatic engagements by Pakistan and our friendly brother countries, the Afghan defective regime continues to provide safe sanctuary to a variety of terrorist groups, including Al-Qaeda, BLA, and PPP. All promises they made in Doha not to allow these terror groups to operate from Afghan soil have been permanently forgotten.